Okay, so I'll get started. Okay, this is a warm-up that we often do. It's the I think, and then at the end we'll say do a now I think. But I want to tweak it a little bit based on the experience I had with the supervisors here in Jordan. And if you're working in the Jordanian public schools, I may have been with your supervisor. And they were very concerned about what makes the language experience approach an approach. So I'm going to write a question about what an approach is. Sometimes people are confused about the definition of approach in education, and you might even hear different definitions. So this is the question that I'm going to ask, and I'll write it on the chart paper. An approach is sort of the underlying philosophy behind what is a language and how can it be learned. So that's what I'm going to write. Do you still have paper at your seats? If you do, think about how to answer the I think with this question. What is language and how can it be learned? This is your own opinion, of course. But as I go through the lesson examples, oh, you can work together, or you can individually, it's fine, as you like. As I go through the lesson examples, think about what those lessons say about this question. What is language and how can it be learned? Okay, I know that's a big question, but hopefully you've got your answer, or at least what you're thinking at the moment. And we'll come back to that at the end. But our objectives for today, as you can see, are how can we use this approach to develop English in all domains, that means listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and how you can design language building experiences for your young students. And then based on those experiences, take them through a series of literacy tasks. Okay, here's a little bit about the rationale for this approach. Often when you're teaching EFL, so English as a foreign language, you might find yourself working with textbooks that were written in a different country, for example. We know that students read better when the reading materials are culturally relevant. And if students are writing their own text, they are going to be culturally relevant. Reading should connect to the student's background knowledge. Again, if you're reading, for example, a Dick and Jane book, like we used in the United States for some time, your students are not going to be able to relate to the characters in that story. But if they write their own, they will. And finally, we know that language and literacy develop together. Especially for young students, oral language is the basis for literacy. If you think about a native speaker, a native English speaker learning to read and write, what they're doing is matching a coded set of symbols to language that they already have. They know many words. By the age 5, native English speakers know a pretty good vocabulary. It's still developing, but it's strong. So what they need to do is match this code, these symbols, to the language they already have. Now, of course, if you're learning in English as a second language, you can't do that. You need to learn the vocabulary while you are learning the process of reading and writing. But, you know, students are smart. Children's brains are amazing. They can do this. And language experience approach is really a way that they can do this with all of this background and their culture, bringing it all together. And you can scaffold that as they learn vocabulary. So basically, this is what we say about the language experience approach. What I say, I can write. That means that the student's oral language is the basis for the text. What I write, I can read. So then they are matching the writing to their oral language to the code. And then what is read can be broken into parts. And what do I mean by broken into parts? I'm thinking here of, for example, phonics, sight words, those kind of activities that we often do with our native-speaking children early. Sometimes you might hear about the synthetic phonics approach. That's taking the smallest pieces of the language, the phonemes, and building words with them, which is great if you know those words. What happens if you don't know those words? What does CAT look like to you if you don't know what a cat is? So language experience approach really reverses that order. And we can do all of those things with our students. We can break the words into parts. We can find sight words. But we're going to do it in reverse order because they have to have meaning. This is all about building context and building meaning. Okay, so now you have to pretend that you are in kindergarten and you don't know very many words yet. And I think one problem with the language experience approach, or one perceived problem, is that how are they going to talk if they don't have the vocabulary yet? So this is, you're going to imagine, for beginning students who really don't have the vocabulary yet. So what you're doing is giving them that vocabulary and having them use it and then creating a text with it. Okay, students. I'm going to show you a picture and repeat the word after me. Tape. It's okay if you're having trouble pronouncing it. We can work on this. This is tape. Very good. Paper. Paper. Stapler. Stapler. Very good. Scissors. Scissors. Okay, students, now I'm going to ask you a question, and I want to see if you can remember the answer. And it's going to look like this. I'll say, what are these? You say, these are scissors. So let's try that. These are scissors. What are these? Oh, you students learn so fast. I'm so proud of you. Okay, this one's a little bit different. This is a stapler. Can you say that? What is this? I know. I apologize for treating you as a child, but ooh, here's a different one. This one we're going to say, these are scissors. Can you try it? Okay. What is this? Ah, wonderful, wonderful. Okay. So now I'm going to tell you a story about our school supplies. If I can do that while holding a microphone. She got a piece of paper and a stapler. This is a stapler. She folded the paper and used the stapler to staple it. Then she took her scissors and she cut out a lovely shape for her mother. Lovely shape. Then she used tape. This is the tape. Remember the tape? She used tape to tape the heart on her card. This is how Ozma made a card for her mother. She used a stapler, paper, tape, and scissors. So students, what is this? Okay, this is a picture of the word stapler. Now I'm going to write the word stapler. The word stapler looks like this. This is the word stapler. Students, what was this? Oh, you're so smart. Right, it's a picture. It's a picture of tape. And the word tape looks like this. And then I will also do that with the paper and scissors. And paper. Okay, students, now we're going to write some sentences. This is my question, what is this? To write what is this, I write this. What is this? That's my question. Okay. All right, now I'm going to say the sentence, and I want to see if you can match. What is this? This is tape. Where do you think this would go? Can you show me, please? Wonderful. Oh, it's not sticking. I need more of this. Yeah, okay. That gives us the idea. Okay, students, let's read it together. What is this? Very good, very good. So we will go through this process. And then we could make a wonderful class book about school supplies, in which you could all make your very own page that says this is, and you can write the word tape right there, and you can draw a beautiful picture of the word tape, just like I did. This is tape. Okay, let's do a little chant to help us remember our school supplies. It's going to go like this. Stapler, scissors, tape. Stapler, scissors, tape. Stapler, scissors, stapler, scissors, stapler, scissors, tape. Can you say that with me? Stapler, scissors, tape. Stapler, scissors, tape. Stapler, scissors, stapler, scissors, stapler, scissors, tape. It's almost a tongue twister. Very good, students. Very good, students. What is this? Oh. Yes, let's use a full sentence. This is tape. What is this? Very good. What is this? Very good. You learned so fast, and I bet you'll remember those words for a long time now. I only hope so. Okay, so you could make a class book like this for your students. They could have their own, or you could do it together. And then when we talked about breaking the language into parts, then we could analyze that, this text that they've created together. So for example, you might be looking for the sight word is. You might be focusing on the sound t, t, and you could find that in tape. There's different things that you could do with this text once you found it. If you had a word wall in your classroom, you could say, are there any words from the word wall that you see in our book? Oh, you might see this and is, for example, are often words that are on a primary school word wall. So that is how you can teach your students some vocabulary and use the language experience approach, even if they are beginners and have no language at all.
Sorry.
Yes, of course.
Would they understand your instructions as they don't understand the word? I mean, we're assuming they're totally...
Well, I would have to do maybe a little bit more modeling.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm not doing maybe as much as I would because you're adult. But yes, I would have to, you know, say this. Yes, exactly. To make it more comprehensible. Yes? Well, okay, so initially you're just having them respond chorally, for example. You can call on individual students to answer. You can look at if they create their own text, you can look at it. You can have them match. For example, if I take something like this and I cut it, this could be what we call nomenclature cards, which is just a fancy word for name, because nomenclature means name. So if you would have a picture, say, up here, and then you would give them this in 2 parts. And first they would match the picture and the word to another picture and word. So you'd have another tape here. This would just be very, very basic. Then once they get good at that, you take away the model. And then you're having them match tape and the picture of tape. So I think that is a one way that you can assess, can they correctly match? You can have them complete the sentence, as I was suggesting, and then draw a picture. Those would work. Nomenclature cards are something that they often use in Montessori, if you're familiar with Montessori teaching. That's very common. But I like them for any beginning English learner student. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am?
Would you only use English in the classroom, or would you use or allow using their first language?
Well, this gets to a little bit of philosophy, frankly. I think bilingual education is great, and I understand that there are times when you need to use the native language in the classroom. However, I guess there is a caveat there, and that is that if you use too much of it, then the students are going to tune out the English. So what I usually tell teachers when I'm training is begin with the English. Begin with this is tape, this is marker, whatever you're doing. And if they really just have no idea, now hopefully you'll have pictures and realia and you can use that. If they have no idea, yes, give them the Arabic word, for example, for that thing.
Yeah, I found out it's easier because in a class you'll always find 1 or 2 children who would have picked up what you said. And instead of you as a teacher translate in their language, ask another child to translate. Because once the children know that you understand them, they will automatically start using their own language.
Yes.
Even if you respond in English.
Right.
So it's much easier and better if you ask another child to translate. Could be.
I just wanted to
Does anyone have any other ideas from their experiences? I just know from, as a language learner myself, that once you start hearing that native language, you're going to tune out anything else you hear. So that's why I say begin with English. Yes, if there's an emergency, if there's a fire, don't say fire, students, and wait. You know, say the Arabic word for fire and run out the door. But we do want to use as much as we can in a comprehensible way. So basically, this is the lesson sequence. You have a shared experience. You record a dictated account. You model reading the text. Students read the text, and then this text becomes a source for literacy tasks. So what was my experience? It was very simple. You might not have realized that you were having an experience. The experience was showing you the school supplies, that was all. Then we wrote it together, we read it together, and then we talked about how you could use that for extensions. Okay, now this example is from a school in the United States. These students are elementary students learning English. Their level is about intermediate. So I wanted to show you this because I modeled a beginner lesson. These students are more intermediate. So you'll see them have an experience and talk about it, and they don't have all the vocabulary that they need to really discuss the experience. So we can see how the teacher handles that. And I do have some questions for you that you can be thinking about. I think I have about enough for one per group. And you can, after we watch this video, you can compare your answers to these with also what I did. Hello. You're welcome. I hope we can hear this. It's the first time I played a video in here, so let's hope for the best. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, volume. And maybe it all ends in disaster. Let's see. Any tech people? I'm sorry, I couldn't play in advance because the room was being used. So if you could just get me some volume, that'd be fantastic. Anyway, you'll see these students. They appear to be in a PE class. And another thing is that you don't have to have the experience and do the text all on the same day. This can be broken into parts, which is what you'll see here. Hello. Ah, we've got volume. So this is a short video. It's only a couple of minutes. I won't rewind. You can see they're playing a game. Are we ready? These are your questions.
Like us, Remember that word we used for turning around? Is that word I said?
Twisting.
Yeah, say that again.
Twisting.
Twisting. Can you say that?
Twisting.
Twisting. When you practice twisting. So we were trying to run. I'm running.
The BME is beginning, middle, end.
Learn for opportunity and calculate your change the iceberg.
Can I tell you how we say that? We wouldn't say I fell off. We would say I fell down. Can you say that? Miss Slater fell down.
Miss Slater fell down.
All right, so maybe I'll make an arrow showing. I'll be laying on the floor. And I'm going to write fell. So, let's see what we've got so far. We were playing ships and icebergs. The icebergs were sitting on the floor, twisting and tagging the iceberg. The iceberg were running and jumping. So why did the ice ships do that? Why did they have to do the running and the jumping?
Because they should go like that. And then they'll jump over.
And so why? Why did they want to jump like that?
Because then the iceberg can tag them.
Yeah, because they didn't want to get tagged. All right, so then Miss Slater was running.
And
what was Kenny doing? Kenny was
tagging you.
and Miss Slater. What happened?
Like always dying.
What was that new word I was talking to? I fell
down.
Guys, all say that. Can I hear you say that too?
Down.
All right. Okay, so take a look at your questions. So, like to take a few minutes to discuss at your tables and see if you can answer these questions. And you can do the lesson we just saw as well as my lesson. You can compare. Okay. All right, help me. Okay, thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, are we ready to talk together? I think I'll just focus on, I'll go through quickly. I think you know what the experiences were, the level of the students. So how did the teacher in the video introduce the vocabulary? Did anyone catch that? Yes?
Yeah, she had pictures and she was drawing as well.
Yeah, very much the same as I did.
Used experiences from their everyday life, like something they experienced.
Right, right. And I don't know, because we were having a little trouble at the beginning, I don't know if you saw, but in the beginning of the video, the teacher actually fell down. And so that...
She made them act something.
Right, and so that got a laugh. So that really engaged them. And then when she talked about it the next day, oh, ha, ha, I fell down. And they didn't know the phrasal verb fall down. So then she was able to teach them that as well. How did she correct them? Like the boy said, fell off. I think he said, you fell off. Did you catch that?
Yeah. She kept on repeating.
She repeated
And she made them repeat.
Right, right.
She didn't outright and say it's wrong or no, it's not how you say it.
Right, she did it very gently, and then she had the students repeat the correct structure. How did she document the experience?
She drew, she was drawing.
Yeah. They only showed her paper for a second, so I don't know if you caught it, but it had the BME, that's for beginning, middle, end. So that might have just been the pre-writing kind of part of the lesson, where she had pictures and she was labeling them, some labeled illustrations, and then maybe they were going to write a longer text later, or you could do that. Okay, how did she scaffold the discussion?
Pictures,
Yeah,
acting,
Kept asking questions.
right, all of that. She did it sequentially. That was really the same as the BME thing. It's about scaffolding the discussion as well. Okay, so I'm going to tell this story because my friend Jumana is here. And this is about the importance of meaningful input. And she often says to me, Codie, why are you taking Arabic classes? You can learn Arabic here in the office. So this is what I've learned from Arabic in the office. It goes something like this. Marhaba. Yatikalaf ya bibi. Aywa. Yani indi moshkile. La la la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Bukra. So that is, yes, the extent of my Arabic. So I have enough Arabic to work at QRTA. That's the good news. We can't do anything until tomorrow, is what I said, or what I tried to say, if you don't speak Arabic. Yeah, so I'm not getting enough meaningful input, I guess, is the key there. So learning a language is all about meaningful input, and that's why we do so much of the scaffolding with the pictures, with giving them the vocabulary words. I'll use my handy clicker, maybe. Okay, so let's have some fun now. We have relatively few teachers in this room, but that's okay. Many of you may have been teachers in the past. Let's think about what experiences could you have with your students. And if you are currently working here in Jordan, think about what's realistic for you. And remember, it doesn't have to be a big experience. It can be just you're introducing school supplies. But sky's the limit. So I'm going to give you some chart paper on cue. And some markers, and I just want you to brainstorm as many experiences as you can possibly have. Thank you very much, ma'am. I'll do the markers. Markers. Oh, thank you, thank you. You guys are great. Yes. We'll do as you like at your tables, or you can join in. And these... I wonder if I can pull this up for you. Oh, I don't know, maybe not. Okay. Everyone okay?
You have a chair? Yeah.
Did you bring this with you?
Yes. Would you like some?
No. I just want to tell them red wine origins.
Yes. Okay, so for example, these are some of my students that I taught in the United States. And these are some experiences that they are having. You see little boys building a gumdrop tower. They went on a field trip. Here they're doing a school performance where they're dancing. But think about what you could do, with your students. You might not be able to do these things. You might be at a school that doesn't take field trips. That's fine. Just anything you can think of. let me get, do you want some handouts?
If it's okay, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's the next activity we're going to do. I won't do that for you. Okay, this, how many, 3 of you? No, 2 of you, okay. Okay, so these are just ideas for experiences, which we're kind of doing right now. These are ideas for extensions that you can do after you've done the text. Hold on. Don't worry, there's more. I've killed a lot of trees for this. And then we were going to talk about using books as an experience. So here's a list of books, yeah. And these ones, these are pattern books where the language has like a pattern, like Brown Bear is kind of the classic. And then also using wordless texts are really great because then the students can, you take a wordless text, write their own text. So there's a list of those. And I think that's everything.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Awesome. I'm sorry you can't stay. But I really appreciate you staying till the very end for this. Cause
I was all day actually.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. Are you going back to Amman?
Yes.
Okay. At least it's not a bad drive. Okay.
Hopefully not much traffic as well.
Yes, that too. Okay, take care. Ready? You want me to? Yeah. What do you want me to do?
No, keep on going.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, you guys have a good list. Let me give you some tape and you can hang it up some. See, we're probably only going to have 2 really. Where can we put them? That's good. I wonder if it's okay to tape on their purple thing. Hopefully. It's just masking tape.
This tape will be fine.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe on the wall.
Oh, next to it? Yeah, okay, okay. Yeah, I don't want to mess anything up. I'm going to give you guys a big piece of tape, and then when you get a couple more ideas, maybe we'll just hang them there, because we don't really have enough. I don't know. It's just masking tape. What do you think?
Yeah.
I had them put it there, but they won't be able to see it. Well, everybody will have to get up. If we put it there, we won't have to get up as much. I'm going to move you guys. So no one puts baby in a corner, right? So we're going to come back here. Is that okay? Okay, you don't care. Okay. All right. And if you just want to stand up for a minute and take a look at the combined list, see if there's anything that you didn't think of from the other group. Yeah, no problem. Oh, yeah, that's great.
Show and tell me.
Gracias.
Yes?
We might leave a bit early because we have a flight to catch, so I might give it
What?
around 5:30.
At 5:30? Okay. Just, well, we'll take a break or something because I have some handouts, so I want to make sure you get the handouts before you go. So don't just sneak out. Tell me. Okay, okay. No, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I know. Thank you so much for staying for the last session. It's tough having the end. Wow, lots of great ideas. Okay, that's good. Why not? Yeah, so go ahead and take a look. I hope those of you who are teachers are able to actually do some of these things. I know it can be a challenge, but okay, that's great if you can. Yeah, yeah, that's good. All right, wonderful. I've got no shortage of ideas here. Does this work? Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about writing, because often when you're doing language experience approach, you're going to have a part where there's a dictated account. So for your beginners, as I did with the school supplies, you're going to really be doing the writing, and that's called shared writing. As students, when they very first begin to read and write, we call it shared writing and shared reading, when really you're doing and modeling for them. But I want to talk a little bit about interactive writing, because this is a really powerful literacy strategy, and it's also one that lends itself well to language experience approach. And we can also talk a little bit about error correction too. So let's say that you have had an experience with your students and you've come up together with a sentence. And that sentence might be, on Thursday, we walked to school. Very simple experience. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say on. Oh, on is a sight word, students. Does anyone see on our sight word wall? And hopefully you might see on. Okay, write it with me in the air. What does it look like? Okay, let's make an O and an N. On is the first word in our sentence. So will we use an uppercase letter or a lowercase letter? Oh, that's right, we'll use an uppercase letter. So can one of you come up and write the word on for me? Thank you very much, ma'am. Remember, we're going to write with an uppercase O, so what should that look like? What do you think, students? Did she do a good job? Yes, we agree. Thank you for writing the word and. So then maybe our next word is Thursday. That's not so easy. But I'm thinking my students know some letters and sounds, and they might be able to do it. So I have a student come up. He's going to write on Thursday. But say he writes something like this. He's thinking Thursday. Okay, we'll accept that for now. On Thursday, he's got a lot of sounds there, really. This would be a great job. On Thursday, we, that's another sight word. So let's say our student writes we. Walked, that's another tricky one. So maybe I have a student come up and she writes something like this. Because my students really know their letters and sounds. And so she writes walked. It's great, right? On Thursday, we walked to, another sight word, and school, we all know that because we're here all the time. So maybe through interactive writing, we end up with something like this, where the students have written some words, but they've made a few mistakes. So, of course, you're going to read it through with them first. You're going to say, on Thursday, we walked to school. Wonderful, everyone. Let's read it chorally. On Thursday, we walked to school. Okay, so the error correction. You don't want to tell your students they've done anything wrong. They really haven't done anything wrong. They've done a beautiful job of recognizing their letters and sounds. They've got really all of the sounds right here in these words. Unfortunately, this isn't how we write in standard English. So what we can say is, okay, I want to show you all of the things that you did right. And you can come up here above. I'm going to use a different color. All right. Thursday. Look at all these sounds in Thursday. However, there's a couple of letters that we need to add. Thursday has a U here. Thursday, day. Oh yes, I hear the A sound, but when we write Thursday, we write the letter Y at the end. So it looks like this. So let's compare. Let's compare your Thursday with this Thursday. What do you see that's the same? Well, you see many letters are the same. What do you see that's different? Oh yes, we need to add the U and the Y. And we can do the same thing with walked. Walked. Yes, I hear all of these sounds in the word walked. But when we write in English, we write it like this. Wah, wah, ah. That actually is written like this. Walked. Walked. Oh, I really hear that T, but you know what, students? In English, we write that with an ED. So it looks like this. So let's compare walked and walked. Oh, our W's are the same. This one's different, so I'm going to cross it out. K, oh, that's great. T, it sounds like a T, but we write with an ED, so I'm going to cross that T out. And then we could read it again. On Thursday, we walked to school. So that's how we can do error correction with interactive writing. But anytime you're doing interactive writing with the students, it's really important to do that think aloud. The examples I gave you, we were imagining that the students really got all their letters and sounds, but maybe they don't. Maybe, you know, they have a B here instead of D. Then you're going to have to say, Thursday, for example. Is it Thursday or Thursday? And kind of talk through that. Yes, ma'am?
That's really very unique, but we have that problem with the younger students in our school. How do you tackle the direction that's the right one for them?
Because...
How do you teach them? I mean, since you have experience with this more.
Right, well, because my context is a little bit different, right? Because most of my students were speaking Spanish. So that is also written left to right. But Arabic. So those of you who teach in this context, what do you recommend?
Put a dot where, you know, if you're writing in Arabic, so at the top of the page here, just put a dot. And if you're writing in English, put a dot there. So they have a visual.
How big the B and D?
I mean, it doesn't matter.
They can see it.
Or you can put a sticker or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Something that to track it. No,
Oh, are you talking about reversing the letters or starting on the line?
The beginning.
Yeah, so that's what you said is what I've heard from most teachers, that they put a dot here or something.
Or a sticker, something that has
A visual cue.
And you can ask the children themselves to do it before they start writing. So this way, they're doing it physically, putting the sticker, or doing the dot, which is something they have to do.
Yeah, a visual cue.
The visual cue of it.
Right. Yes, ma'am?
And this directionality of print is an objective that the student has to complete
Mhm.
in preschool. He cannot, like, if he goes to
That's a new context. Not the
directionality of print, I mean from right to left or left to right. This is it.
Yeah,
Yes.
assuming that they've been to school, our children have never been to school.
Right. So you have to. So we call that in the category concepts of print.
This is what I meant. It's an objective that you need to
Right.
work on.
So students learn concepts of print before they actually learn to read. That means directionality. That means that the words on the page equal oral language. Those kind of things. Yeah. So you might need to start with concepts of print for your students. Yeah. 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 So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Okay. Now, our next task is, so say some of you have students who are advanced, and they write something, and it's really, really great. It looks like this. So if you start to read through that, you might notice there are some errors. But we know when we correct our students, we can't correct every single error that they make. So what I'm going to do is give you a copy of this text, and I want you to first look for the errors, then prioritize. How would you as a teacher decide what you're going to correct in this text? And it won't be everything. You ladies need to go. You have 2 minutes?
Yeah, in 10 minutes.
Okay. I'm sorry?
Assume that they're grade.
Well, these could be middle school. I mean, they're writing pretty well at this point, don't you think?
Mistakes, I mean.
Yeah, well, just think from the point of view of the mistakes that you see in the text. What would be the most important ones?
Individually, right?
Well, they can work with a partner. That's
Yeah,
fine. I don't mind. Or at your table. So they said this.
Someone's telling
And
them
someone
to-
wrote it?
Yes.
So another read it and another person wrote it.
Yes, so the students had this discussion and they're saying this, but the teacher's writing it exactly as the students
As
said
I
it.
say.
And that's why there's mistakes,
Okay.
because she's writing what they're saying. Yeah, cut it off. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, 2 things. First of all, some of you are asking, if this is dictated, why the mistakes? So when students are learning to read, we really want them to start with accuracy. So first you're reading for meaning, then accuracy. So the teacher is writing exactly what the student said. So if the student says, my friends is in the beach, you need to write that. Because when they go to read it, if you write, my friends are on the beach, but the student's oral language is, my friends is in the beach, and they try to read it, it's not going to be accurate, right? So when we first begin reading instruction, we're really going for this accuracy. So that's why we're writing it verbatim. We're including all of their mistakes. Yes, we are going to correct those mistakes. Eventually, that's what we're doing now. But initially, when we write it, we're going to include those mistakes, because remember, we're building the literacy from their oral language. And as students are developing English, they're going to have some patterns that aren't what we would call the correct structures yet. So you'll see the subject-verb agreement. That's something the students haven't learned. So it might be something that we're going to teach them next. But when we want them to read it, we need to write exactly what they say. Because if you change it, they won't be able to read it, because they don't have those structures in their language. So you would start, okay, so you've decided what you want to correct. You're going to read this through with them first, so that they can practice that reading, the saying, my friends is in the beach, because that's reading instruction. They have the meaning, they know what it means. They know what it means that their friends are on the beach. And we want them to read it accurately, as they say it is in the beach. Then we can focus on how we're going to fix that. So what do you think? What should we fix first? Yeah, probably some subject-verb agreement here. That's probably what I would start with. What else? Some punctuation? Prepositions, yeah.
Present continuous and simple past.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so, exactly. Exactly. So I'll move on, so you can see my revision caveats, maybe. Come on, show up. Ah, yes. Okay, so first of all, we already did this. We don't have to correct every error. We're going to think about what's important. That's what you just did. So we're going to go with the subject-verb agreement, which is important, and maybe the prepositions. And we're not going to use grammar speak. That means we're not going to say, oh, you need to work on your subject-verb agreement. We're not saying that. We're going to say, yeah. So look down here. Here they said they are looking. They are. They got it right once. So we can use that. We can say, oh, remember that when we have more than one person, we need to use are and not is. So look, friends, you had more than one friend at the beach. We're going to use the word are here instead of is. That's what I mean by not using grammar speak. You can just give them those examples without saying third person. And of course, if they have a vocabulary word they don't know, you're just going to give it to them. You're not going to leave them guessing. If they don't know how to say fell down, tell them how to say fell down. And then we're going to read this over several times before we begin the revision. Like I said, because we are focusing on that reading skill. So then when I want to start revising, and say I've decided to go with subject-verb agreement to start, I'll just begin reading. My friends is, there's something wrong here, students. Remember that when we have more than one person, we're going to say are, so I'm going to change this to are. Okay, now you read it with me, and we'll start again. My friends are, and we might decide to do the prepositions as well or not. They are looking, and you would correct like that. And every time you correct a mistake or you want to give them the proper structure, go back to the beginning and start again, because that repeated reading will really help them. So any questions about revising or error correction in general? Okay. So this is how you're going to use the text. You could say you've done a text like this and you've revised it. You can give them all copies of the text. They can practice reading on their own. You can use it for a running record. If you know what a running record is, that's where the student would have a copy of the text, and you would too. And you would track their reading, checking for every mistake that they make. If you're able to meet with your students one-on-one, that's a great way to assess reading. You could have flashcards. They're practicing the words. So maybe you've done a running record and you see that they're having trouble reading people, for example. Well, this is going to become a word that that individual student could work on. So that's the ways that you can use them. And remember at the beginning we talked about we're going to break the text apart at the end. This is how you're breaking it apart at the end, depending on what your students need to work on. Okay, we can also have experiences that are based on literature. And if you work in a school where there are books that you must read or curriculum that you must follow, this is a pretty convenient way to incorporate this approach into literature that you have to read. So I worked with a teacher, and she knew that her students needed to read this book, Fruit Market. But her students didn't have a lot of vocabulary for fruit, because they're English learners. They're in first grade. So what she did is she brought in some fruit, and the first thing they did was have a discussion about it. And you can see she labeled it. They talked about it. Then this is the text that they dictated. So I'll read it for you. Example, Christian said, "This is a orange. It's bumpy." So here you see an example where she decided to write what he said verbatim. She has not corrected this text because Christian doesn't know about the word "and" yet. He doesn't know we use the word "and" in front of a vowel. So she's written it exactly as he wrote it. So this is building background for the students through a hands-on experience. So then when they go to read Fruit Market, they're going to remember that. They're going to know the word orange now. So you might want to consider how you can use an experience around a text. Or you can have the text be the experience itself. It's really great if you have wordless text. The example is there on your left. So those are texts that tell a story just through pictures. What's really nice about that is that your students can write the text for that book. Or the example on the right is brown bear, what do you see? This is what we call a pattern text because the language follows the same pattern. If you know this book, it's brown bear, what do you see? I see a purple cat looking at me. It goes on like that, where they're repeated. So if you read them a story like that, then they could have a text that follows the same structure, but they're making their own. So maybe instead of animals, they're saying people. Mother, what do you see? I see father looking at me. And they could illustrate that. So that's how you could use both pattern books and wordless books as the experience. Okay, good. All right, I did bring a few children's books. I will give you just a couple of minutes to think, if you were going to teach this book, what could you do beforehand to build background, to build an experience for the students, and what might you do afterwards? Some of them are fiction and some are nonfiction. You ladies probably need to go, right? All right, I won't give you one. So there aren't very many people left. But I appreciate so much people who are staying, and I'm sorry if you have to leave, I understand. Would you care for us? Book of your choice. No. You're welcome. To anything that you like. Oh, that's pretty much the Fruit Market one. Okay. You're welcome. Or you can keep, no, you can just do one, it's fine. Or if you like caterpillar or stone soup, that's more fun. Yeah. Yeah, caterpillar's good.
I think you should end it.
Nobody's really into this. Well, I'll let some people into it. Yeah, what could you do before reading? What might you do after reading? That's it. You're welcome. Take care. You're welcome. All right, anyone quickly have ideas? Yes, ma'am. You're welcome. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That got confusing. As you like.
It's about how to make muffins or muffins, so we can first show them the real thing because it's so interesting to you as tools and foods
Right.
or the ingredients. Then I might show them the video of how it's made.
Right.
They can play a game where we can put, they'll use it as a bowl, and then the teacher will say the instructions on how to make it, and they will jump into it and then make that. They're the real ingredients.
Can I be in your class? That sounds wonderful. Thank you. Anyone else have an idea they'd like to share? Yeah, that's the obvious, yeah. Ladies? Sorry? Act it out? Oh, that would be great. They would love that. Or you could even use stick puppets, things like that. Do you have any ideas for your book?
Because we have a caterpillar.
Yes.
So we can, then the caterpillar eats a lot, so we can introduce fruits, different kinds of fruit, and foods actually.
Mm-hmm.
And also the life cycle of the caterpillar.
Oh, yeah, bring some science in. That would be great. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Maybe food was on my mind when I picked out these books. I don't know. Sorry. All right, you hardy souls who have stayed till the bitter end of this wonderful conference. I've had a great time. Let's go back to our question. So think about what you know about the language experience approach now. In what sense is it an approach? And I bring this up with you in case you go back to your school and you want to implement it and your supervisor or principal says, what are you doing? How is this an approach? How would you answer this question? What does this approach say about language and how it can be learned? You can shout it out. I think it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so it's basically it's a whole language approach. We're starting with the whole language. We can break it down, but we're not going to begin that way. And it's showing you that language is a system. Language is meant for communication in this case. We talked very much about making meaning, that language is something we use to make meaning. Anyone like to add anything? No? Okay.
I just wanted to answer that question at the beginning. What is language? A means, obviously, a means of communication.
Right.
How can it be learned from communicating? I know it sounds
Right. No, it's, you know, it's...
really through that, through practice, exposure.
There are
Well,
so many ways of communicating something.
I think it's worth remembering, especially as I go around the schools in Jordan. I hear very much about we teach grammar. We teach grammar. Well, you can teach grammar. Like we talked about with that text we looked at from the advanced students. You're teaching grammar. It's just how are you doing it? You're doing it from an experience they had. You're building this background. You're really working on their literacy skills. And then you can also do the grammar and the vocabulary, and all those things are part of it. Right, everything is integrated in this approach, which is why it is so great. Whatever. There's our now, I think, our references. Don't have feedback. Okay. So I hope this helped you think about how you can integrate language. And you can, if you are a teacher, you can try this. Thank you very much for coming. It's been a great conference.